team. Got that at the Czech Hockey Hall of Fame.
That is our cue to start the show.
I think we're live.
I think we're live now. So welcome, everybody. It's Wednesday night here on Live Long and Podcast, and that means we're talking about Star Trek, the original series, as we continue our TED Trek podcast series. I'm Dave Mader, coming at you with Star Trek TV and movie reviews here on Live Long and Podcast. We got our great crew here together to talk about another episode of the original series, which is Obsession, which is the 18th episode from the second season. So we're going to break that all down. I'm going to introduce our panelists. So we'll start with my dad, Ted Mader, as the namesake of the TED Trek series. Dad, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Good. Not on camera at the moment, but also joining us is, there he is, my brother Jeff Mader. Hey, Jeff. There he is. He's here. He's part of this discussion as well. We're gonna have 5 of us on tonight in this round table, and then we also have esteemed panelists. We have Jody Simpson. Hey, Jody.
I've never been called esteemed before. That's good.
I called you esteemed.
I know you have. I'm just kidding.
And then and also equally esteemed panelist Adam Woodward. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. Thanks.
That's good. Okay, so we're going to break this all down, everybody, and we're probably going to have a bit of a rotation here as we go through the different, people kind of weighing in with the different responses. So let's go to my dad first and talk to him because he picked this episode. So, Dad, Obsession. Let's talk a bit about this one.
Yeah.
So, are you a thumbs up or a thumbs down on this episode?
Oh, yeah. There got to be a thumbs up on this one.
Okay. You were a fan of this one. Okay. And what was your favorite part of this episode?
Well, I guess I don't know if I had a favorite part, but it was quite the chase and quite the finale to this.
Yes, it was.
But it was a good episode.
Okay. Great. Let's. I don't know who to go to next. Let's go to Jeff next. Jeff.
Yo.
Obsession. Are you obsessed with this episode?
No. I thought it was a good episode though. I thought it was kind of like a good, kind of did this in TNG too with Riker, where they had a Starfleet officer when they were younger had this tragic thing they can never get over, and so they always had it in the back of their mind or that secret in their mind, and they have to fulfill that vengeance, so to speak. And I think that's what's kind of driving Kirk in this episode. He's kind of thinking about 11 years ago, and who's the guy the ensign that he kind of I was I couldn't believe the guy was in the episode as much as he was, and then I realized why at the end of the episode it was because it related to Kirk.
Garevik?
Ensign Garevik?
Garevik, I think. Yeah.
Garevik, yeah.
I think he was supposed to be our a view to Kirk 11 years ago. That's what he was like after this happened. And what do you guys think of the smells? The honey. It smells like honey.
Yeah, I have a lot of questions about the smells as well. Is there a static or something?
It sounds like water running.
It sounds like someone's in the kitchen.
Is there a tap running, Dad?
No.
Okay.
Not here. My fan's on.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't think it's that.
How do I turn my fan off?
No, don't do that.
You mean on a laptop? No.
All right.
Don't.
Yeah.
Let's get around to the other panelists though, as we're breaking down this episode. So let's move over to Jody next. Jody, Obsession. Are you obsessed with this episode?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. I do not know why people like this episode. This is literally just the white whale being chased thing. It's so overdone. I can't even begin to understand how frustrating I am at this episode. This is just not Kirk. Kirk is supposed to be looking out for everybody, and he's just a total dick in this episode. And the guy's an ass the entire time. And even his shipmates are you're being kind of an ass. And he's just whatever, I'm gonna get my cloud thing. Fuck those people and their vaccines. They don't need them. It's I don't get the love for this episode, and it is a universally loved episode. I actually looked it up because I'm is this actually supposed to be a shitty episode? And people like it. So I just I thought it was completely out of character for Kirk, and it just I can understand if he was chasing tail or something, like if he was chasing a girl around somewhere, I could get that, but
Well, this was
he's chasing.
personal. It was personal.
Let's get
It might have been personal, but he usually puts
Yeah, that's what it was.
the
It was
needs
a
of the
personal-
many, right? So
Let's
what
get
it
over
was.
to Adam, because Adam, I'd like to hear your takes on this episode. You haven't had a chance to kind of weigh in yet, so
Jody and I didn't talk ahead of time, but I totally agree with you.
thank you.
Yeah, I found this episode just not. I was waiting for Kirk to come out of his stupor or something. He was possessed by.
Yeah,
something.
Me too. Yeah.
It just wasn't him. It wasn't anything that Starfleet goes for. I also found it kind of boring. It was a very long episode for me. Anyway, we'll talk more in detail as we move through the episode, but I'm with you,
Sure.
Jody, on this one.
Yeah.
I've never seen this episode before. I don't remember it. And if this was a top 10 or whatever, I don't get it.
I don't think it's a top 10, but it's still liked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm just going to give you kind of a high level thought here that before we kind of break this all down, but I agree with you in the sense that I don't think Kirk comes across in this episode particularly strongly in terms of a captain or as a leader. But I think that it's interesting it provides a backstory for Kirk, in terms of where he's been in his career. We're just going to take Jeff off while he's in and out of the room.
I was just thinking that. I'm like,
Sorry.
literally, he's just jumping back and forth.
I don't know where he's going or what he's doing, but
Let's get Ted back.
yeah. So,
I'm back.
hey, Dad.
Yeah.
So but the thing also that this episode made me think of was the whole J.J. Abrams and the whole reboot and like the Chris Pine Kirk.
Very much so. Yeah.
Because
agree.
that version of Kirk doesn't have this backstory. That Kirk basically goes from cadet to captain, whereas this Kirk, the original Kirk that we know, is he was a lieutenant on the Farragut, and his mentor Captain Garrovick was killed by this smoke vampire thing, and I think that's an interesting dynamic. He talks about how Captain Garrovick kind of shaped who he is as an officer, how he is as captain, how he is now that role to Garrovick's son, here, and trying to sort of teach him the ropes. So, I think it's a good episode for those points, but I think he makes all the wrong decisions. But I think that this was originally conceived as Space Moby Dick.
Yeah, exactly. The chasing the white whale. Yeah.
But we've done that before too.
Oh, even in the series. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, in this series.
With Kirk, did Kirk already have his white
No,
whale?
not with Kirk. With
Not Kirk.
the Commodore Decker, I think.
Yes, right. Commodore Decker with the Doomsday Machine, of course.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
And so this is his version. Oh, and it will go up Picard with the Borg and
Oh yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
There will be this will come up again in Star Trek.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. This is sort of like this thing you want to get revenge on for hurting you or whatever. But let's just start breaking down the episode as it starts. So it starts with the Captain, Spock, and a few security officers right down on the planet, and it kind of just goes right into it where he's like, "Do you smell that?" And it comes down to the smell, which Jeff was speaking to before. So Jeff, you were talking about the smell, and they reference it a few times. But my question here is, and anybody can answer this, but it's a sweet, a sickly sweet smell that this creature, the smoke vampire, makes, right? Because we'll learn it will suck all the hemoglobin out of your body. Does anything ever get sweet enough that it makes you sick?
I kept thinking, okay, every time this kept coming up, I thought back to when I used to cut lawns. This one time, I think it was a dead raccoon was in the backyard of this house on the lake, and it literally was rotting there for at least a week. And the smell of the blood was like a sickly sweet smell, really bad, but also kind of like sweet. And that's what I kept
cutting
thinking.
candy sweet.
like yeah, like kind of like overly like I don't know. It's a peculiar smell. But that's what it kept. They kept saying honey, but like that's what my mind kept coming to that for some reason. I don't know why, but
Yeah. But just in terms of like, okay, the smell will come referenced many times. Did anybody else like? I guess that's just how he knows. But he's like, that encounter with the Farragut wasn't on this planet. It was on some other planet far away. I don't know if I ever got a good answer as to why this creature was here now. Hello.
He smells something.
He's
sweet.
Something sickly sweet. You might want to go the other way.
What was that episode with the cat in it too?
There's been cats. Oh, yeah, cat spa.
Cat spa. Yeah.
Right.
Meow.
Right. But so basically, Kirk sends off his security detachment to detect what he is pretty sure. He almost knows right away what this is, because what else could it be? Right. And so, Dad, do you think that Captain Kirk was reckless to send those 3 security guards off as he did?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, he was, and you know, he didn't really know what it was, but he had an idea what it might have been.
He was pretty
He
sure
was
he
like-
ended up being right.
He did tell them to
He
shoot.
was thinking,
He did tell them to shoot at the smoke. He's like, if you see the smoke,
Yeah.
shoot at it. Right?
yeah,
And then they didn't do that. At least the one guy didn't.
But they proved that wouldn't have mattered, right? Because the hand phasers wouldn't have had an effect on it.
Right.
So he got those guys killed effectively. And I don't know what the full body count is in this episode. But it's like, how many deaths does how many of his crew die before he's able to defeat this thing? And are they even 100% that they defeated this thing?
Well, Rizzo died, and then
Yeah.
the
They
other
blew it up.
unnamed guy died.
well, they blew it up, yeah, with
They blew
antimatter.
it up, and it took Spock 3 minutes to energize Kirk and the other guy.
Right. And
And
we
both
also
It wasn't Spock. He took over after.
here you can see a photo of what this. So this thing, what it does is, as the security guards are looking around, they're always not looking at the smoke. It's always right behind them. But it sucks all their blood out. It looks like they're choking, and they end up like this, like sort of.
No, it sucks the red blood cells out, Dave.
Right.
I think
And
they
see,
said iron.
that's
or
why
something
Spock
like
at
that.
the end could.
Spock doesn't
Yeah,
have that.
Spock couldn't get the red blood cells sucked out because he didn't have red blood.
The hemoglobin.
So with that in mind, Dad,
Yeah,
my
hemoglobin.
question for you is: are the Vulcans would an all Vulcan crew be much more equipped to deal with this problem?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes. They should have
there would
called
have been no deaths.
a Vulcan
doubt.
science vessel. They should have called a Vulcan science vessel right away. And once they
Or
figured
even a
that out,
Vulcan Starfleet vessel, because there are all Starfleet crews that are like all Vulcan Starfleet crews. So, okay, so just taking him off. So, as we move through the episode, yeah, he gets those guys killed, but this is also at the time where the Enterprise has to go meet the Yorktown because they have a rendezvous to hand off vaccines, right? That's what this was. So there's kind of like he's getting resistance from McCoy and Spock right away because he has no proof of what's going on. Kirk has no proof of that he's saying that this is the same monster. They have another mission they need to get to, and they just kind of want to can we deal with this later? But Kirk is obsessed, and continue. Hence the title of the episode. And it just happens to be that one of the ensigns that's promoted because all of these security guards are killed is the son of the captain who he served with and who died originally when they encountered this smoke monster. Is that a coincidence, Jody?
yes,
Yeah, I guess.
it's a complete coincidence.
It's Star Trek convenience is really where we're at again. I don't know. The thing about this episode is if you have to sum it up in one word, it's reckless. Like the entire episode is just reckless. Bones is telling him he's an idiot. Spock's telling him he's an idiot, and he just keeps doing it. It is so stupid. I don't get it. This is totally out of character. I don't get why we did this.
Well, He was looking for revenge to get the guy.
This is
before
well, I
struck
think
again.
I think probably Dave, you probably summed it up best. It's Moby Dick in space, right? Like that's really what it is. It's there. He's and actually we had a reference to this in First Contact with Picard and the Borg.
Well, yeah, like
Lily says the same thing, right? Like,
but the difference is there though is with that episode. I mean that movie. Like in this case, you've got a planet full of people waiting for supplies. This is not just the Enterprise.
That's right.
There's much more going on here, and why he couldn't see. And then even the security officers, man, he just keeps sending them in.
Yep. It's just send more.
He doesn't care about red shirts.
You know what? That's true. When I was watching this episode last night, I thought, man, he has no compassion for his own guys here. I don't see they didn't even look down when they're dying. Like, you know.
Well, yeah, I need to just come back with a question for you, Adam, because is this episode maybe more than other episodes responsible for the trope of the red shirts being sort of the expendable guys? There's been many episodes where red shirts get killed, and other color shirts. They're not just the red shirts, but they die at a much higher rate because they're security guards, and they tend to be on the front line of a battle. But yeah, so you think yes that this could be?
I agree with that. You know what? A couple of things bother me about in his leadership. If you want to talk about Kirk's leadership in this episode, is so there's Spock and there's Kirk. And then you have 3 security guards at the beginning, right? In the opening scene.
Yeah.
So, he doesn't address all of them. He addresses one, and then he barely gives them a glance and sends them into, don't shoot the cloud, which doesn't make sense to me. And then they're dead. And again, doesn't even look down. If you go back and watch that scene again, it's interesting because he doesn't really even give them the time of day. He's got 2 officers or 2 whatever they are, security guards, dead, and nothing is spent on them, no time. And then, of course, he does get the guy who's still alive, evacuated the ship. But it really showed how expendable they are to me.
Yeah, and I haven't touched on this particular scene yet, but I want to talk about the guy he wakes up from, like the one guy who kind of survives. Here he is. Rizzo is his name.
Rizzo, yeah.
Right. And so just to bring him in here for just a moment. So this guy who is the only survivor of this first encounter with the cloud monster, like I get the impression that him waking up here, like he was in an immense amount of pain and suffering. And the answers that Kirk gets out of him, I don't think are even that helpful. They kind of confirm what he already suspects or what he kind of already knows. So, Dad, did he need to wake Rizzo up for this story?
In his mind, he did. I guess, he's trying to, get as much information as he could. It's funny that, it's, he's almost like this whole episode, he's trying to make up for his mistake 11 years ago. And he didn't realize that if he had fired 11 years ago, it wouldn't have mattered. But he must have carried that guilt with him all that time. And
they realized that at the end of the episode.
Yeah, you don't know it now.
Yeah.
So he's got that guilt in him that he's trying to get this monster, and he's stopping it all. He's looking under every rock to try and get more information to attack this thing.
Well, comment here says the expendable.
I see where he's coming from. Yeah,
the red shirts better just they better be sick that day when they have the away mission, or they might not be coming back.
So even this scene though, Dave, and sorry to interrupt, but even the scene here that you're referencing, there's no compassion in Kirk at all. Like he's literally just wants the answer and that's it. Like he's not concerned about this guy. You can tell he's not concerned. And it's just like everything about this episode just screams not Kirk. Like while I'm watching this episode, and I don't remember this episode, but I'm pretty sure I've seen it because I remember some of the things that happened in it. But I'm watching it and I'm thinking, oh, maybe this is an episode where like at the end we find out it's not the real Kirk. Something like that. Like that would make more sense. And then it's like, no, literally at the end he's like, oh yeah, well the phaser wouldn't have mattered, and that would be the end of it, right? Like, and then literally it's like, let's go off into space now. It's like, but like everybody, even on the bridge, is frustrated with them. Like you can tell, like Chekhov's like, why do you keep giving me fucking dirty looks, Kirk? Like that kind of thing. And it's like, and then Scotty's like, we're about to burst here, Captain. Like blah blah blah. And he's like, okay, warp 6. It's like,
okay.
What?
Question to Adam: can we forgive some of Kirk's transgressions here as being sort of chalked up to post-traumatic stress from the incident on the Farragut?
Look, if there had been any indication of that in prior episodes or seasons, like he's cool. Like Kirk he's unflappable. I just found. The fact that wherever they needed to go with the antidotes or the vaccines or whatever they were going with, that was bigger priority than this. And they could have come back, like go do that and come back.
Drop it off. Come back.
Question, why is the Yorktown can't go? Like I couldn't understand that one either. But I guess it can only go so far. But I just It wasn't Kirk. It wasn't, I think we would appreciate it more if somebody else on the crew had that vengeance, and maybe disabled the ship so it couldn't leave or something like that. But
that wouldn't have been allowed because Kirk gets every story when it comes to Star Trek.
He was really in this episode like that.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. Like, okay. Like, fair enough. Like, yeah, you're right. Like, Kirk's never shown like as a person who carries the baggage of the past. And while I say I like this episode in that it gives Kirk a bit as a character, and as an officer, more depth, because I get a better sense of who he was before he was Captain Kirk, when he was Lieutenant Kirk, and even Cadet Kirk, I guess, because he says that he was kind of serving with Garrick and the Farragut right out of the academy, versus like this Chris Pine Kirk, who is this other version of Kirk, who is a younger one, but didn't have the same life. So as this one, and how different they are, right? Like just in terms of how they're dealing with that trauma. Okay, so what else? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just reading something about Yorktown. So I was trying to see what kind of ship it was, because maybe it just couldn't. Maybe it's a science vessel and it doesn't have a lot of guts to it.
They never actually said what class it was or anything. And while we're just on the subject, would it be okay, Adam? I know you're a fan of the new shows, whereas maybe the other guys are not. So you're familiar with Star Trek Discovery. You're familiar with the new show Strange New Worlds, which is going to be exploring the Pike years as captain of the Enterprise, along with Spock and Number One. And so my question is, would you like to see them cross over with the Farragut, see a younger Lieutenant Kirk?
Wow, that would be awesome.
So that's something you would like to see. Okay.
Listen, I'm very happy with the new movies and certainly new series. And you can rewrite anything if you go back. It's just this was very un-Kirk-like, and that's what sort of made me kind of upset with the episode.
Yeah, you had a bad day, Adam. You had a bad day.
Yeah,
maybe this episode is in the Calvin timeline.
People do have bad days. People do have bad days, but you can't when you're captain.
It'd make more sense if this was in the Calvin timeline. Because the Kirk from the Calvin timeline he's much more stuck up. He's much more of an ass.
But he's younger too.
Yeah, and you kind of have to kind of give him a little bit of that, right? He's not as aged, I guess, but it's everything about this just it's got such a sour taste. I don't know. I just don't get it.
Right. Okay, so just after they get Ensign Garovic involved in this story, which is just bringing up more trauma from the past for Kirk. It's just adding fuel to the fire. He takes Ensign Garovic and a couple other guys, Swenson and Bardoli, down, and basically, and the security team runs into the cloud almost right away, and Garovic hesitates, much like Kirk did 11 years earlier. And by the time he shoots, the cloud's moving fast, and his 2 crewmen are attacked, and one of them dies. So now there's another casualty. So there's at least 3 people dead at this point. And then they come back to the ship, and this is where Captain Kirk comes hard down on Garovic for not firing, for hesitating to fire. Dad, we learned that it didn't matter if he had fired or not, right?
That's right.
But what is that? Are they still negligent, both Kirk and Garovic, even though it didn't matter? Are they off the hook just because it worked out?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
It wouldn't have mattered.
Right.
You can't hold a guy down. It's like spitballs against a battleship.
I wonder how many people died because he couldn't get those drugs to them quick enough.
Now that we'll never know.
He's like Space Trump.
Yeah, because my feeling on it was that Kirk and Garovic, they're both, like, even though it worked out and it didn't matter, but that didn't mean that they didn't do what they were supposed to do, or act how they should have, how their training had taught them to act. But whatever. So anyway, he gives Garovic, he relieves him of duty because it's basically because he's got his own demons. And this is where, Kirk continues his campaign of becoming the most unlikable captain on the ship, or in the history of Starfleet. So we talked about how he dresses down Scotty, says, "Stop conspiring against me," and he tells Chekhov to do his job better. And Spock and McCoy, who he's usually will listen to, he's not listening to them at all. So it continues this trend where, like, how out of character is he to what Jody was saying? But I think, it's like this post-traumatic stress and this trauma from his past he can't get over. What else is there? Okay, so in the next act, we got McCoy and Spock talking about this.
Which is one of the best quotes in the whole show.
Which is?
Actually, I have it. Hold on. So when Spock and McCoy's working away, and Spock comes in and he goes, "I need your advice," and then McCoy goes, "Then I need a drink." Like that. That's brilliant writing.
I forgot about that.
That is brilliant writing, for sure. There's actually a decent amount of good quotes in this show, which we might end up talking about later with fun facts with Jeff. But it's the whole like them looking into the fact that he's being insubordinate, like, should have been where the story went. Like, they should have said, okay, you know what? We are going to confine him to fucking quarters. He's acting like a jackass. Spock takes over. He deals with it, right? That's how it should have went, I think. And then, you have the whole him suffering and, in silence kind of thing for a little while and post-traumatic and stuff like that. But it's, I can't say anything more. It's not him. It's not Kirk. I think it's an imposter. I think it just got written out.
I disagree. I think it's Kirk. Just his ego's just gone to the complete 10th. Like, he's like bursting through the seam here, and I think because he's obsessed with this, nothing's gonna get in his way, and not medical supplies, not his crew, not a dead crew. A dead crew.
But this is a guy who really values at least his bridge crew anyway. Like, he's always praising them and, I have the best blah, blah, blah of this and this and that. And yet he's acting this way. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And that's the thing that bothers me about it. And I don't know how Adam feels about that, but it's essentially the same. It's just the reoccurring thing over and over and over again. He's an ass. Somebody calls him on it. He's still an ass. Someone calls him on it. He's still an ass. Someone calls him on it. I can relate to a degree, but
one of the people that I really did enjoy in this episode was Nurse Chapel. I thought she had some good lines in there too. She was good. She was
the scene where she brings the prescription from McCoy.
Yeah.
He's like, it just says one word: eat.
Yeah,
and if you don't want him to haul your ass down to sickbay, or
she brings
him to have a real bad time.
Garovic his dinner, because he's feeling sad about what happened on the planet, what is that what Nurse Chapel's job is, to bring people dinner?
Oh, she's
Yes.
Nurse Chapel.
I remember she brought Spock soup once too.
But the best part was when he threw the cover of the food, and it hit the ventilation. Now I don't know why a spaceship would need ventilation, because that's a self-contained unit. Ventilation to what? Were they letting their air go out into space?
Well, they gotta
You know-
scrub for CO2 and
Their
stuff like that.
engines.
And
Their
why was
engine.
there access by hitting a button there to ventilate the whole? I don't know. Just kind of
Yeah,
funny.
it seems a little odd. It's probably for when you're smoking weed and you gotta like hit the button so that way it vents
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
So that way
maybe.
Kirk doesn't show up and he's like, "Why are you smoking weed?" Yeah,
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
probably gets
But-
back to the whole space hippies.
But
thing.
when Spock was in there with the monster, when Spock was in the room by himself, I thought he was doing a Vulcan mind meld with the monster. He
Me
didn't.
too. I actually saw that and I'm like, can he actually do that? That doesn't make any sense.
I mean, he Vulcan mind melded with that rock.
That's true. Yeah,
He can do it with a rock. He can do it with
the
a
rock
smoke
monster.
cloud.
Yeah.
It's not to be thought. But okay, but this leads to the chase of the ship, because the smoke monster attacks Garvik. Spock very heroically throws him out and says no. And Spock doesn't even know that he's immune, right? That was a brave
Not at
act,
that point. No, he doesn't know that.
right?
But that's an officer taking care of
Yeah.
his men.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly what Kirk should have done.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Spock
I will
shows Kirk
say
up
it does
sometimes.
it does bring up another really good quote, which is, I can't remember exactly what it was, but when they open the door and Spock comes out and he goes, don't take this too personal. Kirk's saying this, don't take it too personal, but why aren't you dead? It's like that's a good line. I like that one.
Yeah, that was a good one. Right. Dad, what did you think of, so after the smoke monster makes his attempt, then they chase the thing through space for a while. He fires photon torpedoes at it, but then he finally gives up and decides he's going to go deliver the medical supplies to the planet. I don't know. I was feeling conflicted at this point. Where I was like, I guess you should take this thing on. I think it's a bigger problem. It's not confined clearly to one planet. So maybe is there any?
Well, he shot the laser phasers and the photon torpedo, and then the thing came at the ship and went in the ventilator. The Garvik opened.
Was that the order of events? It went from the planet and then went into the ship. Okay, then it attacked him while
it was the chase.
Apple brought it.
Then he attacked it, and then it came in the ventilator. That's how it got into the
they
ship.
chased it, and then it went in, and then they chased it again back to the home planet.
Yeah.
Right, and then they're
Yeah.
and then
Well,
they
after it
drive
met
out.
up with Spock and it got a taste of that green blood, it left the ship
They soured the
and
sauce.
took off.
Right.
Yeah, and took off back to home.
Reminds me of that episode of Next Gen where they sour the power thing so the thing will stop sucking on the damn ship. I can't remember the name of the episode, but kind of reminds me of that a bit.
Leah Brahms. Good episode.
Yeah, Brahms. Right. So they find the cloud. Okay. There's this whole scene where after he says, "Oh, they didn't like my green blood," and then Kirk kind of forgives Ensign Garvik because he goes, "It wouldn't have mattered if you had fired or not." So because it didn't matter, you're off. You're not going to be in trouble anymore. And so. There's this ongoing thing where Kirk is he's convinced this thing is super intelligent, right? And eventually Spock comes around to the fact that this thing's intelligent and maybe is worth, I guess, taking out as well. Is that what, Jody, did you think? That Spock kind of comes around on the threat?
I didn't get that impression. I got the impression that Spock obviously classifies it as a threat, but I didn't get the impression that it was all that intelligent.
He does
I don't
say
know,
that.
Maybe I missed something. Did he say that? Okay.
Yeah, he says that if it's intelligent because it knew to come in the ship and then leave, that's something an intelligent being would do. He also ends up saying that it will replicate into the thousands and then it will be like an unstoppable force. So he definitely does come around on the threat.
Yeah. To my defense, I did fall asleep a little bit while I was watching this episode, so I could have missed something for sure.
Well, that's why I'm here, Jody.
You know what, Jeff? You're always there to have my back. I'm great.
I am the
Very
wind
grateful
beneath
for
your
that.
wings.
You certainly are, sir.
Mhm.
So, Jeff, what did
do
you
you-
think? What did you think of this
What?
plan to take out the creature with antimatter?
I thought it was this whole episode feels like a movie. It feels like a script of a movie that they could have shot in the 90s and it would have worked. Because like the movie the whole scene where like they blow it up with the antimatter and then they beam out just in time, such a movie trope, really. They do it in the reboots where Chekhov's like, "Oh my god, I can do it!" Like they
Very
have
good
that,
impression.
"Oh my god,
Yeah,
what am I doing?"
Tan Yelchin.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Mhm.
Bringing him up, but yeah. So for me, like it feels a lot like Nemesis, and like just listen to this quote. Does this not sound like Kirk? And he piled upon the whale's white hump the sum of all the rage and hate felt by his whole race. If his chest had been a cannon, he would have shot his heart upon it.
Moby Dick.
Moby Dick, Jean-Luc Picard,
Wrath of Khan.
Wrath of
Too
Khan.
deep for me.
Too deep for me. I
That's
like
not up on the classics. So,
No,
it. Trust me, it's a shitty read. I wouldn't even bother.
well, it's all
Yeah.
about revenge and being obsessed and not knowing when to stop
It's just
You're
as
with-
boring as this episode.
with your obsession.
okay, but let's go over to Adam because they have this plan. They're going to destroy the creature with antimatter. So it's Kirk and Garavik who go down to the planet, and they got the antimatter thing, and they say it's less than an ounce of antimatter, but it has the power of many nuclear bombs, right? Which is that's fine. But the question is more.
Like you said that. It's fine, I guess.
It's fine.
It's
I have
explained-
problems with this, but I'm not going to explain it.
No, it's not. I don't have any problems with it, really. It's
Oh,
more.
okay.
It's more the how their execution of this plan and how Kirk acts through it.
Well,
I
it's
can't
the typical
follow-
3-second plan, right?
What his idea was here at any given stage. Maybe you can help me unpack it. So he shows up with Garrett. So once the monster shows up, because it goes for the bait. The bait is just like a bottle of blood, I think, right, or something. And so
Yeah.
he goes, "Oh, the monster ate the blood. Now what are we gonna do?" And Kirk's like, "No, I'm gonna be the bait." And then Ensign Garrett
Yes.
says, "No, don't do that." And so the question, I guess, is: was Kirk going to sacrifice himself? Because he
Did-
tells Garrett to get back to the ship,
Did-
but
Well,
Did
they have
that
that
not-
little tussle, right?
Did that scene not remind you of the end of the movie Armageddon, where it's
Yes.
like Harry and Ben Affleck and they're fighting each other and who's going to sacrifice themselves to get the blow up?
care of my girl.
Take care of my- Yeah, but they didn't do that part. I wish they had. I thought the whole time going into, I hadn't watched this episode, and going into it, I was like, well, that ensign's gonna die when he finally goes with Kirk back to the planet, and then he doesn't, and I was like, oh, that's
I was
But-
sure
well,
he was going to
that's
die.
a twist.
Yeah.
The thing that bothered me about that whole little tussle that they had, because like the two of them like trade blows, right? Like, what's his name decides he wants to sacrifice himself, and Kirk's like, I'm not gonna let you do that, and he like punches him and shit, right? And then he's like, consider yourself written up. It's like, yeah, that's the biggest fucking problem he's got right now is being written up. It's like his captain just punched him in the ass. Like, it's like, come on.
also with Spock. He's half human, so you don't tell me he doesn't have half iron-based blood in his veins.
I don't know how
Well,
that works.
It doesn't work like that with blood types, so maybe it doesn't work like that with because you don't get it can work that way with blood types. Like you can be an AB if you have a parent who's a B and a parent who's an A, but you can also not have that.
Okay.
So for whatever reason,
I'm O negative. That's all I know.
I'm not getting into the blood type. I'm just saying more. He would have half human blood, so I don't think he would have been immune.
There was no red though. No red in his
yeah,
blood.
his blood's not.
Right.
His blood is Vulcan.
Vulcan
Well, he
blood.
said something. He said something about iron and something else. So
Copper.
Copper.
copper, yeah. So his blood's copper based, so it's fine.
That's why it's green when it's oxidized.
Now,
just
did
like
that
ours is
ever
red.
come up in any other episodes of Vulcans?
That they have copper-based blood?
Yeah.
Not that I
Yeah.
recall, but
Well, they come
I'm
up.
sure it has.
Green blood is a thing for a reason. Like the Statue of Liberty is green because it's made out of
Because
copper and
yeah,
it's
That's right.
oxidized, right? So,
So that was actually a pretty good to have Spock's blood copper based. That was a good idea.
so
Smart
like,
idea.
That's why it's green.
if you just took blood out of a Vulcan with like a vial, would you just get like a copper color? I think you would.
Well, when you take blood out of a human, is it blue?
It's dark. It's dark purple.
It's dark purple. Yeah.
Yeah, so it would
Yeah,
be
it's
like
not.
a dark.
It's not blue. It's red. Still.
But
So red.
our blood is blue
Still
when it's
considered red.
when it's deoxygenated in the arteries. That's why you see blue veins.
I don't know. I watched something on. I watched something on TV about that, and it's still red. The blood's still red.
All right.
Okay.
That's a myth. That's
that's
an
a
old
myth.
wise tale.
That's okay. Do you guys want to do some fun facts here, quick? Or?
Yeah.
I want to do
Yeah.
a fun fact for sure.
Okay. All right. We'll go into
with Jeff.
All right. The ship which Kirk served on for his first deep space mission is disclosed to be the USS Farragut, which was named after David Glasgow Farragut, a flag officer of the United States Navy during the American Civil War. He was the first Rear Admiral, Vice Admiral, and Admiral in the United States Navy, and is credited for uttering the phrase, "Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead," disregarding all danger while entering enemy waters off the Alabama coast. Also, the Farragut is the ship that Uhura got assigned to in the reboot Star Trek movie, and she was very mad at Spock, and she got reassigned. She didn't want to be on the damn Farragut. That was a piece of crap.
Kirk's
Okay.
wanted to serve.
And it got blown up pretty quick too.
I'm sure it did. Sorry, fun fact number 2. Second episode in a row in which Captain Kirk's capacity of command is questioned.
What was the first?
The episode right before this. I don't know what it was, but that's it.
That would have been the Gamesters of Triskelion.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't think we've covered that one yet.
Only time in the series where phasers are said to have a disruptor setting.
Oh, I never noticed.
Oh
that.
yeah,
You're right.
I heard that last night. I thought those were illegal in the Federation.
Later on.
Later on.
It doesn't matter. Kirk's already taken over anyway.
breaks
Doesn't
all the
matter.
rules.
Yeah, he would break all the rules. Obsessin is a Star Trekified version of Herman Melville's Moby Dick, a seminal American novel first published in 1851. Captain Kirk of the Enterprise is Captain Ahab of the Pequod, and the gaseous creature is the white whale.
Yep.
So there you go. Filming took place during the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur. Director Ralph Sineski was an observant Jew and left the set at sundown. Producer John Meredith Lucas took his place. Lucas went on to officially direct 3 episodes of the series. So he just pieced out. He was like, "There was
Whoa, wait a second here.
For a religious reason.
I'm just saying, he pieced out halfway through filming the episode.
But Shatner and Nimoy must not be as religious.
They might not be
Similar
like Hasidic Jews. He might be.
I don't think they're very practicing. Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah. Okay. The unseen ship, the USS Yorktown, recalls the name of the ship in Gene Roddenberry's original story concept he pitched to the networks in 1964. The SS Yorktown, commanded by Robert April. The concept evolved to the USS Enterprise, commanded by Christopher Pike in Star Trek The Cage, then finally the USS Enterprise, commanded by James D. Kirk. So there you go. The only episode to have a security guard as the central story. Surprise, surprise. And it's only a central story because it relates to Kirk. In an effect unique to the series, the phaser beam that Garavik fires at the creature is outlined with a dark border. This takes place in 2268. Okay, is it dichironium, of which the cloud creature is made, is an element that with symbol DK has an atomic number of 112 and atomic weight of 300. It was first discovered on the planet Vulcan. Okay, I guess it wasn't really. The writer of this episode, Art Wallace.
I'm not having as much fun as I thought I would right now, Jeff.
These fun facts aren't that great. Okay, wait. Okay, there's no Sulu in this episode.
Woo!
So that
Why are we wooing?
He's probably making a movie. Okay, although Lieutenant Leslie is killed by Cloud Creature, he is later seen in the episode walking in the background. According to Eddie Paskey, a scene was written in which Leslie and the others killed by the creature are revived by Dr. McCoy, but it was not filmed.
Huh.
So there
That's
you go.
interesting.
Obsession contains 4 crew deaths, placing it alongside the Man Trap, the Changeling, and the Apple. However, the record holder for the most deaths is Where No Man Has Gone Before, in which, in addition to the on-screen deaths of Lee Kelso, Elizabeth Denner, and Gary Mitchell, 9 crewmen are reported killed during the Enterprise's encounter with the Galactic Barrier.
Interesting.
There you go.
This is one of the highest
Are
body
always a
counts.
problem.
This is what?
One of the highest, examples of. Sorry, what am I doing here?
We're seeing Adam now.
Where'd Jeff go?
At least he waved. Did we lose Jeff?
No, I'm here.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, so Jerry Ayers, whose character Rizzo was killed by the cloud creature, also played Ensign O'Harely in Star Trek Arena, which I think we already covered. Another doomed redshirt character. He had his hair dyed lighter in this appearance to lessen the resemblance.
So you got to die twice. You got to be.
He died in 2 different.
He has a record. He died twice on 2 episodes.
Eddie Paskey,
Jerry Ayers.
but
That was his
he's
name.
still alive. No, is that in real life?
In real life,
Really?
is he still alive? Probably not. I mean, no,
Yeah.
he died in 2013.
Eddie Paskey?
No, Jerry Ayers, the guy that
Oh,
died
Jerry
twice.
Ayers, yes, but not.
Yes.
Jerry Mathers.
The creature of
Beaver.
Kirk's obsession is characterized by a sweet aroma, which turns out to be associated with the entity's reproductive cycle. 18 years later, Calvin Klein introduced a sweet-scented perfume for women called
Obsession.
Obsession. He stole it
Wow.
from Star Trek.
That is incredible.
There you go.
And I think I will leave it there. I'll go out on a
Go on a high
high
note, Jeff.
with fun
That's
facts.
Can I add one? Because you
Yeah.
you missed one that I didn't see.
Yep.
Is the Yorktown, the actual ship that they're referring to, is actually the same Yorktown that's actually in the voyage home. It's one of the first ships that gets attacked in the Sol system as the whale probe's nearing Earth.
The
It's the
Farragut?
same one that it's the same one that puts no, the Yorktown.
Oh, the Yorktown.
Yeah, it's the same one that puts the solar sail out. So it's the same ship.
Oh,
We have
our
high
chief
hopes.
engineer believes that this could keep us alive.
Yes,
have high hopes.
exactly.
All right. Let's do our ratings. All right. So just let's talk about season 2, episode 13, Obsession. I'm going to start with Jody.
I don't know if you want to start with me. Okay. I'm going to give it a. You know what? It's not terrible, but it's not great. I'm going to put it at around. What?
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to put it around a. Let's do 7. It's not bad,
Oh,
but
it's
it's
better
not
than
great.
I thought you'd give it. Okay. Adam, you next.
6.
6. Okay.
That was my first gut instinct, Adam.
All
Was a 6.
Dad.
I went a little farther.
I would say about 7.3.
7.3. Okay. If you're just ballparking it. All right. Jeff?
I'm going to give it a 9.
Wow.
A 9.
Whoa!
Wow, I
Jeff,
don't
right
give
there.
anything a 9. Only the
Probably.
City on the Edge of the Forever has made a 9 for Jeff so far. So that's
I liked the episode.
Well, that's
Right.
fine.
okay. And then I'm going to give this. I'll go as high as an 8 for this. So because I thought it was interesting. This has a 7.3 on IMDb, by the way, with 2,194 votes. So that between the 5 of us, that average is added a 7.5, which is above our average at 7.2. So this was
So it wasn't that bad of an episode then, right?
wasn't that bad, but mixed panel. I'd say this was a mixed bag. Some of us liked it more than others. So just taking that out. And do we know what our next episode will be?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Well,
And I think you'll all be very happy with it.
let's hear it.
Space Seed.
Yes. That's what
I
I
love Space Seed.
Space Seed, you say? Okay.
Okay,
I
good
believe
choice.
that-
That's episode 22,
of season 2,
season 1.
season 1.
Space Seed is season 1. I'm almost positive. I can double
It is,
check
yeah,
it.
you're right, because Chekhov wasn't there yet. That's the only thing they always talk about Wrath of Khan. He wasn't
Yeah.
there yet. Well, maybe he was. We just didn't see him. So
blame
But
on
he
him then.
didn't. He didn't know who Khan was. Doesn't know what he looks like. I
He
stand
did.
by that
Apparently he did.
statement. I said that during the review.
yes. Okay, so we're going to be covering Space Seed next week. The first appearance of Ricardo Montalban, first of 2, as Khan. So let's, Dad, you've seen the Wrath of Khan, right?
Yeah,
I would hope so.
I have.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we're gonna be
I
covering that.
watched mostly all the movies.
Yeah, you see most of the original movies, right? Or all of them?
Yeah, I've seen them all. I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Undiscovered Country is the best movie ever.
Undiscovered Country is the best.
Just gonna say that.
Of all of them. All right, so we're gonna be here next Wednesday to cover Space Seed. On Tuesday nights we do D Space Nine rewatches. We're halfway through the second season. We just did an episode last night called Necessary Evil. As we're continuing our D Space Nine rewatch episode by episode. We do Wednesdays here, original series. Thursdays we're covering Star Trek Discovery right now. Adam and I and Michael Chan and a few and my wife Jane. And eventually Jaemeel are going to be covering that. The premiere of season 3 was last week. It was pretty good, we thought. So we're looking forward to episode 2. We did cover Star Trek Lower Decks earlier this summer with that whole first season as well. So as the new Star Trek content comes out, we'll be continuing to cover that. And as the old Star Trek content obviously is there, we will be talking about that too. Also, I just want to call out that we will be doing this Sunday Star Trek Radio Theater. We are doing an original series episode. This is our week to do original series, and we're going to be doing Plato's Stepchildren. Where Jeff's going to be playing the role of Captain Kirk. We got our friend Mott playing Spock. We did this episode here on the podcast many weeks ago.
Kevin Millard will be epic as Alexander. I'm calling it now.
Oh, hurrah! Come here. I want to smooch.
Yes. And we got I'll be playing one of the Platonians. We got a great cast for this, so make sure to check that out Sunday night as we'll be doing our next episode of Star Trek Radio Theater. Yeah.
I think I just sensed a little bit of disappointment in your father's view there.
It's more of a I don't know.
He's like I raised these boys.
Yeah, exactly.
I raised them to be men, and they turned into actors.
I thought they were going to be professional golfers, and what happened?
And now they're actors and doing
Funny voices.
like
Hey, you know what, Ted?
plays.
At least they're not doing porn.
That's true. They could be doing worse.
So check out all that. Our other channel is Super
Just
Mario
check.
Brothers Podcasting, where Jeff and I and our friend Jaemeel, we talk about Big Brother 3 times a week. That's almost over as we'll be covering season 22 of that show. So we'll be back tonight to cover the veto, and Jeff and Jaemeel tomorrow as they'll be doing that as I'm doing Discovery tomorrow. And the finale is next week. Also, Trivial Debates is our monthly channel where we argue about movie, sports, TV, and more. So make sure to check that out. And that covers it for this episode of Star Trek, the original series. We'll be back again next week, as mentioned, for Space Seed. Thank you, Jody. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Adam. And thank you, Jeff, for all the contributions. Adam, I will talk to you tomorrow night. And Jeff, I'll talk to you shortly for Big Brother. So, all right. Until then, live long and podcast, everybody. And
He's trying.
And have a good night.